Welcome to The Edge. I'm joined by Shannon Lane, my colleague at Gambling.com. She's a content specialist for Gambling.com and formerly with NFL News. Shannon, welcome, number one. But number two, it's the time of year when everybody's focused on a couple of things with the NFL. One, their fantasy team, but also looking ahead for futures bets with who's going to be in the Super Bowl February 8th in California at the 49ers home stadium. So let's talk first about fantasy. The fantasy picks that are coming up. You never know where you're going to pick. If you get your first choice, you're happy. If not, you have to look at some secondary choices and some options. What are your favorite fantasy picks going into fantasy football? What are your top picks, and then what are some secondary picks if you don't get what you want?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Larry. I think the consensus that you're going to hear is that the number one fantasy pick for this year on everyone's boards is probably going to be Saquon Barkley, which makes sense. The Eagles are returning 10 of their 11 offensive starters, and we know that the Eagles like to use him early, often, and all over the field, really. So I don't think it's going to be any surprise that he's probably going to be the first one off the board in your fantasy league. So if you happen to have the first pick, I think that's probably going to be your best value choice there. But I think you can't go wrong with, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson has become an important fantasy player as well. So I think, those first couple picks are going to be kind of pulling generally from that same pool of the top running backs and top wide receivers that we've seen in the last couple of years.
I'm on the same page with a lot of those. I'm kind of a Billy Walters follower. The legendary sports bettor wrote the book Gambler. His strategy is always look for quarterbacks first when you're betting game to game, especially big games. But I think that's also true sometimes with fantasy leagues, depending on what league you're in. I like the same ones you do. I like Joe Burrow. He led the league last season in in yardage, but also in touchdown passes with 43. Lamar Jackson, 41. I would go with a sleeper on if somebody takes Burrow and Lamar Jackson and some of the people you like who throw for a lot of touchdown passes and a lot of yardage. Look at somebody like Baker Mayfield. Mayfield was the third leading yardage passer last season behind behind Burrow, then Goff, then Mayfield. Mayfield threw for 41 touchdowns last year, so that's another option too. I'm with you on Jamar Chase, 17 TDs. The guy is a superstar, and he's got his former collegiate LSU Tiger quarterback. They've known each other, and they're compatible for years. I'm with you on Justin Jefferson. I think Justin Jefferson is a Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, elite receiver. He's gone through Darnold, he's gone through Cousins, and now he's got J.J. McCarthy. Really is a rookie, officially not a rookie, but with the knee injury, ran a lot at Michigan. In fact, I would say, by the way, if I may add this, as the season goes on and quarterbacks get injured and that sort of thing, you have to also look at some options. Strange as it sounds, McCarthy might be an option down the road because he's got J.J. Jefferson.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not J.J. Jefferson, but he's got Justin Jefferson to J.J. to throw to. And that's going to score a lot of touchdowns. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it works out with McCarthy. I don't want to get too far afield with McCarthy as a pick. And I'm with you on Bijan Robinson. And by the way, oddly enough, the other day the Falcons tweeted on X a little interview with Robinson. He's got a mustard company called Bijan Mustardson, got merch and all that stuff. Turns out, I didn't know this until a few days ago, he pronounces it Bijan. He's doing a Tony Dorsett, remember the whole Tony?
Wow. Yeah.
He's doing a name. Everybody, including me, still says Bijan, but I think
Yeah. Look at that. We're breaking news here. I had no
I didn't
idea.
know that till I know. So apparently there's going to be I don't know what they're going to do about the mustard company, but anyway, no, and he's a superstar, third leading Russian league. Got Michael Penix Jr. We'll see how he does as a starting quarterback this year. It's going to depend heavily on Robinson. So yeah, I'm with you on all those picks, and clearly. Whatever. I'm always looking for touchdown scores, and you got Gibbs from Detroit. Gibbs had 8 touchdowns last year, so a lot of options, a lot of touchdown scores to look at. And I think you crushed the ones that are the important ones. Let's look ahead to the Super Bowl, February 8th, out in California. Uh, again, it really does sort of come down to a lot of times superstar quarterbacks. You just mentioned, it doesn't get better than Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. It doesn't get better than Hurts and Barkley, only 2,000-yard rusher last year. So those will be forces because those are superstars. Those will be forces to deal with going forward in the league. How do you see the Super Bowl shaping out, and what kind of odds do you like top picks? And do you have a flyer? Do you have somebody that's like, you know what? Maybe it's not going to be the Eagles. Maybe it's not going to be the Ravens. It could be
Mhm.
somebody else that could give you some money value if you take a shot at it.
Yeah, so I think that you have to first and foremost to look at the favorites. And in that top five, like you mentioned, are the Eagles, who are the reigning Super Bowl champions. You've got the Ravens, who are always in the mix, the Bills, who are always in the mix, Chiefs, obviously, and the Lions, who are have been trending up the last couple years. And just kind of have to get over a little bit of a playoff hump. So I think those are the top five teams. The right now on DraftKings, the Ravens and the Bills have the shortest odds at plus 600. Generally, the Super Bowl winner comes from the pool of preseason betting odds favorites. It's very rare that we see a team go on to win the Super Bowl that was not one of the preseason favorites. Ironically enough, that was the 2017 Eagles. So you know there are those kind of standouts, but generally you want to look at around the top five favorites to get the best returns. The margins might not be as high, but you probably have a better chance of correctly guessing at this point, if you look at who is trending in this preseason time before the season starts. But that being said, somebody can anyone can rise up. And it's a very turnover kind of heavy league when we look at the playoffs. And somebody could be the next 2017 Eagles. And for me, I'm looking at the Commanders, who were very impressive last year with Jaden Daniels. I think they've got kind of the formula that everybody wants for success, which is a young superstar quarterback on his rookie deal with a really strong supporting cast. Um, they're currently plus 1,800 at DraftKings, which is kind of in the top 10 teams, but still not technically considered one of the favorites. I do think that there's going to be some interesting moves to see how the Commanders end up shaking out before the preseason. Is everyone going to continue to be on the Commanders roster who's currently on the Commanders? It's tough to see, but they're tough to predict at this point. But I do think that their success toward the end of last year is going to send them in the right direction in terms of being in Super Bowl contention by the end of the season.
If you're at the window right now or on your app right now putting a futures bet down, who did you go? Ravens? Do you go Eagles? Do you go Bills? And by the way, we'll have a good sense on September 7th, NBC Sunday Night Football, Ravens and Bills, Lamar Jackson, and the last two MVPs. So we'll have way too early good feel. But if you had to put money down right now to win the Super Bowl, who would it be?
I'd go Ravens. I think that it feels like they're ready to make that break. Um, I at the same time, it's very hard to say to ever bet against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But I do wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a Super Bowl slump after last year. Um, and a lot of their key players are getting older, Travis Kelce. So it seems like the Ravens have a little bit more of youth on their side.
I agree. I'd probably go the same way. Again, you just can't beat Jackson and Henry. You got everybody thinks of Jackson as a runner, and he is, but he's threw for 40. I mean, the guy throws for he's a tremendous thrower too. So
Mhm.
you've got just a tremendous force on that team, especially offensively. I'd probably do the same thing. Would the Commanders be your long shot pick?
Yeah, I think they're probably my my best long shot in terms of a team that I think could actually go the distance. I think my sleeper pick that has a lot of high upside, but would definitely is definitely probably less likely are the Texans. I think they're really fun to watch. I think CJ Stroud is a lot of fun. I think they've got a lot of really exciting, firepower on their side and have been doing some exciting things. They're plus 3,500 on DraftKings, so not exactly in that same upper echelon as some of our favorites that we've been talking about, but I do like them as a contender over these next couple seasons.
I agree with that too. I think Houston's definitely worth keeping an eye on. A couple too that I would look for. I'm with you. If I were at the window right now, I'd go with the Ravens too. Giving the Bills a hard look. By the way, the only team that actually plays their home games in New York, the Buffalo
I
Bills.
know.
I'll give them a very hard. As a New Jersey girl, you know that.
I
I
know that.
would,
I know it all too well.
you know it all too well. I would give them a hard look. I'm with you on Houston. A couple too that I think might be worth a long shot look. You just can't look past Jared Goff and give. I just think Detroit's worth a look.
Yeah.
This is going to sound crazy, but go back to what you brought up at the top of the show with Jamar Chase. I just think Burrow and Chase, Higgins, if they sign that by the time this airs, this may be done. But Trey Henderson, the sack lead, well, I'm sack leader in the league last
Yes.
season. Well, the Bengals on the edge rushers now are of huge importance. He led the league in sacks, is what I'm trying to say. If they get him signed on defense with the Bengals, this may be the year they can get past teams like the Chiefs. I don't know. We'll see. But I think if I took a flyer, I might take a little flyer on the Bengals.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think Burrow and Chase are always going to keep it
uh,
interesting. And they're always going to be in contention even when they have down years, which is just kind of a testament to how good they are. I think a lot of this is going to come down to, like, always, who's healthy by the end of the season. And Burrow's had some injury prone seasons, so that's always going to be a factor once you get down to it. So it's also like, who do you think has the strongest offensive line to keep their quarterback upright? Those are things you have to look at too.
Great point. And at one point I thought the Rams might be worth the flyer. Stafford's having some problems. Now they do have Garoppolo as their backup. That's no chump change. So yeah, you're right about star quarterbacks being injured, and we don't know. Stafford may be completely healthy as we get into the season, so we'll see. But um, yeah, I think all those. I'm with you on the Ravens. I might take a flyer on the Bengals. We'll see. But let me throw something really weird out too. I was just thinking about this because the Browns have put out their depth chart, their official depth chart, not for now as we go into deep into the preseason. Um, Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and then Shador Sanders. Um, here's kind of a weird scenario. You look at teams that need a good quarterback. I think Sanders could be dangerous with somebody if Cleveland doesn't see value in him. An example would be New Orleans. Everybody in New Orleans wants this. They want Arch Manning from Texas in next year's draft. They think back to Archie and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But look at the Saints. They've got Tyler Shuck from Louisville. Apparently, he's struggling in camp. They got Spencer Rattler. They don't really have the quarterback they need. Kellen Moore is their head coach, former quarterback, longtime offensive coordinator. Doug Nussmeier is our offensive coordinator in New Orleans, the dad of Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, who some people think might be a Heisman contender and join Burrow and Jaden Daniels as one of the LSU Heisman winners potentially. So what if somebody like Sanders, what if the Saints traded for somebody like Sanders, two good coaches like Moore and Nussmeier, and not saying Cleveland doesn't have the kind of coach who can coach quarterbacks. But what if somebody like Sanders ended up in a place like New Orleans that needs quarterbacks? Is that something that could help a team like that?
I think I think potentially. I think the Saints also had the opportunity to draft him if they wanted to. So the fact that they didn't tells me probably that they didn't want to. Um, But that being said, I think that I think it'd be very telling to see how Sanders would do in a high pressure. You're going to probably start right away, in a scheme that you are just learning as you go. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like Sanders would thrive in that kind of environment, but it would be interesting. It would probably be, you know, potentially high ceiling, low floor kind of scenario for him. But it does seem like that quarterback room is probably too full, and somebody's probably going to fall out of it. But I don't know what kind of trade market he would have at this point, given everything that went on during his pre-draft and draft process.
Excellent point. And by the way, another possible to pick up for back to fantasy, McCaffrey is back with the Niners, so we'll see how he'll do.
Yeah, again, that's an injury. That's an injury asterisk for me. I tend to be a little bit more wary of people that are coming back from injuries where we don't really know what their status is or what they're going to look like. Similarly, like anybody that is competing in a quarterback room, so the Browns quarterback, like you just said, the Colts quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. In those cases, that's where I tend to look at the running backs on those teams and kind of wait for the quarterback battles to kind of shake out. And depending on when your league drafts for fantasy, some of those may have already been decided. If you're drafting right about now, you probably have to hang back and wait for some of those like sleeper quarterback battles to kind of get sorted out.
Yeah, absolutely right on, right on the mark. Just to recap before we close out, your top Super Bowl pick right now would be the Ravens.
Mhm.
I think I'm with you on that. My long shot would be the Bengals, and your long shot would be the Commanders.
Yeah, I think so.
Long shot, maybe the Lions. Back to fantasy. If you have the first pick in your draft, who do you take? Chase.
Um, if I have the first pick, I would probably go with uh, either Saquon or Justin Jefferson. Um, I think I think I'd probably go one of those two.
Excellent picks, and I would probably go Saquon also, or Lamar Jackson, or Burrow, because Burrow does throw touchdowns, and he does
Mhm.
run the yards. Uh,
Yeah, I usually like to wait until like around the third round or so, or third round or later for quarterbacks, but it depends on your league because some people's leagues go quarterback crazy at the beginning, so you have to always adjust for who you're drafting with.
well, you brought up a good point. Bijan Robertson. A lot of people overlook him. They overlook Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield
Totally.
down
Yeah,
there in Tampa, and he's just throwing touchdowns right and left.
yeah. Baker's in a great position for fantasy. I think he is a really great value pick. I think people probably overlook him because of he had a little bit of like a journeyman situation for a little bit, but I think he's really solid.
Yeah, you may be able to pick up some value later down in the draft because a lot of people overlook some of those people.
Mhm.
Shannon Lane, thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun. We'll keep this up. We'll see how we go. Uh, we'll have to put some money down on our to see what. I just think the Ravens are going to be so tough this year, but
Mhm.
you know, you can't overlook and you said it too. You can't overlook the Chiefs. Anytime pass, it's like Billy Walter said about the better on the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes wins.
He does. He just finds a way, and he's got a good supporting cast, and it's really hard to bet against a good quarterback coach combo.
So hard, so hard. And you have the doubters. Is he starting to run out of gas? No, the guy's got a full tank of gas,
Yeah, it's
and you can't
always
overlook.
going to keep it interesting.
Yeah, Shannon Lane, thank you so much. I'm Larry Henry. Thank you for joining us on the Edge.